Appreciate you joining Grant. We have Grant Sapkin. Is that the way to pronounce it?
Yep, that's it.
Awesome. CEO and co-founder of Burrst. Just taking his bio directly from their website, but definitely want to learn more about Grant's background and obviously why you're passionate about it. But to introduce Grant, Grant has had a vision to help thousands of student athletes monetize their name, image, and likeness. Obviously, makes for an easy relationship and partnership with Burrst between Burrst and MOGL. Grant also wants to help athletes connect further with their fans and to help create global brand awareness within the Web3 space. Grant's positively impacting the next generation, right, of not just athletes, but creators, the creator economy. And so, yeah, I mean, very brief intro and bio, Grant, but I guess tell the people a little bit why you are interested in this space, what within your background compelled you to get involved within the Web3 space.
Yeah, thank you for the intro, Brandon. Excited to be on the show. Growing up, I always played sports, just like everybody else that had a passion for sports. And so that really, created my strong just passion and really just always wanted to be in the industry of sports. But, backtracking a little bit, I graduated from Indiana University in spring of 2019. I was actually doing software sales out here in Chicago, and I saw the whole industry of tech just really rising, but more specifically sports tech. And so when I saw that happening, it was around the same time as NIL. I got legitimized in the summer of 2021, a couple years ago. And I really saw that as an opportunity to bridge the gap between NIL and Web3, because I knew Web3 was going to be, a huge thing within the whole technology realm of just the industry in general. And that was really sparked my interest of creating a brand of Burrst that was going to be able to help student athletes get into the space of sports tech, but specifically Web3. To do those three things that you mentioned is really to have multiple revenue streams, connect further with their fans, and really create more brand awareness on a global scale.
Awesome. And I guess you kind of hit on it a little bit, right? But what is Burrst doing specifically within the space that's allowing these athletes to do those things, right?
Yeah. So at Burrst, we really facilitate all the processes of helping student athletes get into the space of Web3 and do those three things. And so we have a couple opportunities, one of those being our main partner, which is Virtual Stacks. And so student athletes are able to have their own digital trading cards that are on blockchain. And they're allowed to have, fans and friends and family and new people be able to actually buy those digital trading cards, to own them, to sell, trade them, really be part of that athlete's journey. And so that really, in simple ways, is the easiest way for a fan to back that specific athlete in a way that's powered by Web3 technologies underneath it. And I think that's really just interesting that we're able to put that together in a way that's simple, for the athlete to understand and just fans in general, right? I think that goes into the whole industry for the mass adoption to happen, it's got to be very simple. And you got to say, okay, if I have a physical trading card, now it's going to be digitalized, and I can still own that and show that ownership of it, right? And I think the biggest thing of just people that see the power of Web3 is the power of controlling your data, control of just ownership in general. There's just so much more that is the benefits we can dive into, but that's really what we do is we really help student athletes break into the industry, be able to generate multiple revenue streams, not just one time, and do so with connecting with their fans and creating their own brand in the space.
Yeah, that was actually going right into my next question, Grant, was kind of around what's the innate value for college athletes and for athletes in general and creators in general as they look to get involved in Web3, but then also, kind of going up with that question, how can you bridge the gap from an education standpoint, right? For people who are kind of new to the space, I think it's still, well and early, within its young infancy ages. And so there's still education that needs to be had for all stakeholders, right? Especially the athletes who are your primary stakeholders. So, how have you gone about bridging that gap, right? Whether it's through partnerships with companies like ours, and what can athletes really, what would you drive home for athletes to understand? All right, here's the value of getting into Web3.
Yeah, and I think to start off, we're excited to have our partnership with MOGL and you guys, and I think having that Web3 toolkit that our team's created is going to really help simplify a lot of the terminology and just basic understanding of what is Web3 and how can it benefit sports and how can it benefit athletes and fans. And then going into how to really get that education across the masses, we're really putting together all different angles of stuff to really help impact and simplify what is Web3 and what is it going to do to help the individual. And I think the basic thing of that is that you have to really break it down. You have to really show, okay, what is X and how does it relate to Y? Just really breaking down the different ways of it. We have a mobile app that's releasing to all of our athletes next month, and that's going to encompass pretty much everything of the education standpoint. We have a newsletter that we do weekly, different stuff. We post educational, snippets on social media. We're really trying to just hit all different angles, like I said, because I think that's going to be the best way to really simplify everything in Web3 and allow people to understand it, not just the athletes, but the fans and everyone else that's paying attention.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. The mobile app, what's the development process been like for you guys? We're going through a very similar kind of stage of growth and, just tons of iterations. Don't want to go to market with a bad mobile app, right? For a bad experience, but
it's a lot of testing, man. It's a lot of testing. It's a lot of just, I love the creative process. So it's been fun, to really just think about, okay, maybe we can have, this part of the app, be able to showcase this and, different stuff. Our main thing is to touch on education of Web3, to touch on how we can educate our opportunities in simple ways and really detail it. That's not available just on their websites. And as well as just be able to have a means of communication that's not just over, Zoom or phone call or social media. We really want the access of communication to our team and the athletes to just be there constantly and 24/7. So it's been a lot of different things in testing.
Cool. Well, good luck with that, and hopefully everything's on time and it's the product that you guys had envisioned. So kind of going back to how you guys are engaging with athletes. I mean, you've been in this space for how long now? When were you guys originally?
So we founded the company December of 2021. So coming up, that'd be 2 years old.
Awesome. And so, I mean, you probably have had some success stories, some failures, right, along the way. I think that's just part of the journey. But I think for me and for some of the listeners, would love to understand what a success story looks like. What's, that ideal athlete that you're working with, and how have they gone about using Burrst, to monetize their Web3 brand?
Yeah, I would start off with just, last year was our first year of business. So we had a lot of testing. We had to make pivots. It's not an overnight success story. But I would say to talk about the collective success that we've had with 20 of our college football athletes at the end of last year. They were actually launched on Virtual Stocks, one of our partner platforms. They collectively earned $30,000 amongst themselves. And I say that because they didn't have the biggest brand. They didn't have millions or hundreds of thousands of followers. They were all ranging, from a few hundred to several thousand to tens of thousands, but they all collectively generated that and earned that for themselves and are still earning in the secondary market right now. And that's go to show, one of our athletes that earned the most. His name is Isaiah, and he only has 3,000 Instagram followers, and he made $6,000. So that's proven concept right there that you don't have to have the most followers on social media, have the biggest online presence. You just have to be able to put in the effort and put in the time to get those results, because you got to share your story. And I think that's the biggest thing, as you guys probably see in NIL, is that this is an opportunity for every athlete at any stage right now to be able to go and share their stories and allow it to pay off for them now, and not allow the schools, universities, and other people to restrict different things. I mean, one of our athletes, he had his own nonprofit clothing brand, excuse me, but he had to put that on hold when he got to Illinois, right, University of Illinois. So now that he's, in the NIL era, he's able to go and pursue those passions and actually do that, effectively. So I think that just goes to show that there's just so much room for growth and opportunity. And we've been able to show that at a small scale, and we're really trying to ramp it up and help, like I said, thousands of athletes.
Yeah. Does this stem beyond college right now? And I mean, kind of goes into a few of my next questions, but where's your guys' primary market?
Primary market's college, collegiate athletes, but we definitely have some high school athletes. Obviously depends on the state and all those regulations right now. But we definitely want to help both high school and college athletes, and still maintain relationships, even if they go take it to the professional career, or if they go and do something else that's not in their respective sport. When I think of NIL, in general, I just think of relationship building. And it doesn't matter if you're doing it in Web3 or sports tech or any other industry. Within NIL, I believe in that it's building that relationship, and it really helps the athletes understand that, okay, I can go and build these relationships with different brands and different founders and CEOs, and really grow my network that can help me even after my playing days.
Yeah. Are niche sports more, is there more of an impact that niche sport athletes can make within Web3, right? I guess it's, I don't know if you have data on this or whatnot, but other than the football players, the men and women's basketball players, like how successful are the athletes that you guys are working with at Burrst?
Yeah, so we have a lot of athletes geared up, a little over 130 right now that are geared up to launch actually end of July. And so that ranges in different sports. We have swimming, volleyball, other sports that aren't just basketball and football and the big revenue generating sports. And I think that's going to really help us have that data to showcase, okay, maybe track and field is actually generating a lot of revenue in Web3, maybe swimming or volleyball or fencing or just different sports that aren't as popular as the main revenue generating sports, because that's going to be really interesting. I don't think anyone's proven or shown a lot of data, for those other sports. And if we can show that within Web3, it's going to help in turn with a lot more mass adoption quickly. Absolutely.
I think those athletes are ones that are, just keen to the process more, you know what I mean, of building a brand and of engaging. And, those are athletes that don't have that social profile or presence, right, automatically just based on their sport or based on their position. So they have to build it. And so they understand that. My next question for you, Grant, and one of our last ones is kind of, what do you say to the naysayers, right, of the Web3 space, right? I think it's kind of blown up in our face, and especially over the last 3 to 4 years, and it's kind of slowed down, I would say, right? And but kind of what's the next step for you guys as a company, but then within the entire industry of Web3, like where does this go from here?
Yeah, I mean, I think when you look at naysayers, there's some of them that just really haven't dived in. They're not, they don't know much about the industry as a whole, so they kind of just see, okay, here's what I see from, FTX and cryptocurrency and blockchain and different things that have fallen apart. And, to that point, it's like, okay, yes, there has been, chaos like that, but that's happened in any industry. There's always going to be ups and downs. And so what I see with Web3 is every industry, not just sports, is going to be integrating, collectibles, right? And different stuff like that, and really in smart contracts. And I think it's going to really showcase that it's going to be a more secure, transparent, authentic way of doing business. And every industry is going to incorporate some layer of it to some part of their business model. And I think that's what's really going to be the future of this, is how do you simplify it? How do you, there's buzzwords like NFTs and all that, but how do you just say, okay, it's a digital collectible, right? And that's simplifying what an NFT is, and just using different terminology, showcasing, like for example, on virtual stacks, all you have to do is sign up with an email and password, and you don't even realize you're using Web3 technology. So how do you combine what Web2 is of us kind of interacting on social media, but bridging that gap into Web3? And I think that's going to be really the next phase, for us as a company, and just the future of sports right now, is showcasing results, simplifying everything in every way that we can do stuff with Web3 technologies, and really just educating, everybody. And I think that's the biggest thing for the naysayers, that they're not curious enough, they're not diving in. And I would just say for anyone out there that's listening, be curious, go and do your research, understand what you're doing, do your due diligence before going into a company partnership or anything that you're doing in NIL. That's just really how you can just be more well-rounded as an individual.
Awesome. And then I know from the first time we spoke, and this is kind of my last question that's pretty fun, and you guys have some really cool backers, right? And strategic advisors, and Brian, some successful folks on your team, within your team, and then also externally as investors or however they're involved. How do you get those people compelled to get involved with Burrst? And if you don't mind naming some of those, name dropping a few of those people, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, of course. So the people that are the ambassadors of Virtual Stacks, they're ambassadors for Virtual Stacks, not for Burrst. But we are, the partner, we are the verified partner of Virtual Stacks, for Web3 and NIL. So to name some of the ambassadors that are backing virtual stacks are Drew Brees and Patrick Mahomes and Wendell Carter, even people like Randy Jackson and Luke Bryan, and
Wow.
really, all their testimonials of why they back virtual stacks are on YouTube, and people can go and look that up. But for example, like Patrick Mahomes, why does he back virtual stacks? It's because he sees it as a people for people movement, right? It's actually people helping passionate people go and fulfill their dreams. And I think that's
Yeah.
why we aligned with virtual stacks so much, is because they're really trying to impact all young talent across the world. And us coming in with the sports sector of their exchange category, it's really allowing us to bring in our student athletes because they're the ones that are passionate about their dreams. They want to go and take it to the next level, and go and succeed in everything they want to do in life. And so that's really, why a lot of these ambassadors joined this movement, because they really see other people giving a helping hand, and helping young talent really chase their dreams and follow their journey.
Awesome. That's amazing, Grant. And then to close out, man, what's the relationship been like as you've used MOGL and worked with some of the MOGL athletes? How have our athletes performed? Who have been the most engaged, right? Would love to hear some feedback.
Yeah, no, I mean, just in general, your platform has been very simple to use, very user friendly. I think the categories you guys have added on to really simplify. Okay, does this male or female athlete have interest in sports? Does it have interest in NFTs? Have interest in real estate or finance? Just really simplifying things of what the athlete's interests are. I think you guys have done a great job making your technology very easy to use for both the brands and the athletes. And I think we have a little over 10 or 15 MOGL athletes that have been working with us. One of them, Jimmy, was actually in the first launch end of last year. And he did great results. I think he earned a little over $1,000 in a 7-day period. So we're definitely on the right track to get a lot of MOGL athlete results. And I think it's been awesome to see the student athletes. They want to learn. They're curious. They want to be engaged and see, okay, what is sports technology? What is Web3? How can this help me as an athlete, to really, aid me in my brand? And I think it's just incredible to see that.
Awesome, man. Well, I appreciate you, Grant. Where can people find Burst on social, newsletters, you name it? Where can the people stay up to date with everything you guys have going on?
Yeah, so we're all over social. We're on Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, Twitter. It's at Burrst Sports, one word. That's all our handles. And then our newsletters on Beehive. That's called The Next Generation of Superstars. We have a podcast that I go one-on-one with a lot of our athletes. We have a little over 30 episodes, and so that's also on Apple and Spotify. That's the same as newsletter. It's called The Next Generation of Superstars. And feel free to reach out. Our team is always looking to help more athletes get into this space, and we're always looking to give a helping hand and educate and show what's possible.
Amazing. Well, thanks so much, Grant, for dropping your Web3 knowledge on us. And, for us, it's just giving our athletes more resources to do exactly what you mentioned, right? Monetizing their NIL, but really fulfilling and building their holistic brand. And we do think Web3 is a big part of that, and is only going to continue to grow for our athletes. And so we want to set them up with the education and the resources and the tools and folks like yourself to help them do that, over the next few years. So thanks again. You guys heard where you guys can find Grant and Burrst Sports activities and stay up to speed with all of their updates. And so look forward to continue to work together, man. Thanks so much.
Absolutely. Thank you, Brandon. I appreciate it.